Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be working on 2 pages using one theme, using the new Dina Wakley release for Creativation 2020. So I'm working in the new Dina Wakley blue journal, which has got 3 different substrates. It's got this lighter Hessian colour, it's got the thick watercolour paper from the 6x6 journal in it, and it's got some denim. And I'm using the new gloss acrylic sprays, which are a permanent paint based spray that you can use. So originally when I started this page, I was actually only going to do 1 page and I was going to work on this Hessian, and I started off using the sprays straight onto the page. I haven't gessoed it, I haven't done anything to it, I'm just spraying straight onto the page. And obviously you can see that the paint is soaking into the fibres of the material, and it's quite translucent, and it keeps colour, but it sort of soaks in as well, so it's not very defined, which is what you expect when you're spraying onto a type of material. You're not going to get that beautiful definition. You can also see when I turned over the page, I have put some paper in between, and the reason for that is because it is an open weave, it is obviously going to go through that weave onto your next page. So if you don't mind having a messy page, which as you can see from my page next to it, I don't mind. I like breaking up my white pages. But if you want to keep your journal pristine, obviously put some protective paper in there. So I was working on this, and I wanted to put a little bit more solid colour on it, so I'm actually going back with straight paint instead and stenciling over it. And you can see the difference between using the straight heavy body paint as opposed to the spray. Now don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore these sprays. They are fabulous and they can be used in so many different ways, and obviously on that page I was able to colour it really quickly, and I know that paint is permanent, and that's the most important thing, I suppose, when you're using these sprays, is they're not water reactive. Once they are dry, they are dry. So I can add paint over it, I can add gel medium over it, I can do all sorts of things to it, and it's not going to move. However, you can see on the cotton rag paper on the other side that layering the paints is obviously more, it's a little bit more layerable and more obvious, I suppose, because it's not seeping into the fabric of the Hessian burlap, whatever it is, as easily. So it sort of sits on the surface a little bit more. So this is how I tend to work in my page, in my journals. I start on 1 page, and if it's not going quite the way I want it to, I start working on the other page. And you can see there that I've got those pages, and there's nothing much happening at the moment because I tend to work intuitively. I don't set out with a theme or an idea of what I'm going to do. I did more so, I suppose, on these pages because I had new products that I wanted to test out and I wanted to see what they did. But apart from that, apart from knowing that I wanted to use some new products in those, I didn't really have an idea of where they were going. So I start playing around with some different stuff. So one of the things I have found in my experimentation is that these new gloss acrylic sprays work beautifully with the Dina Wakley tissue papers, in particular with the white ones, because you get that beautiful white printing coming up immediately. The white papers I used to struggle with a bit because I wasn't sure how to use them, and as soon as I put these acrylic sprays with them, it's like, yep, these were born to be together. So you can see here that obviously I'm spraying onto some paper and it's wet, and I'm actually just going through my whole stash of white tissues that haven't been used for a long time and soaking up any excess colour. So I've got stuff coloured that I can use in the future. Now, because it is gloss, it is a little bit sticky at times, so just be aware that when you're peeling things up that it may be a little bit sticky. So you can see now that I'm gluing down these tissue papers, and I've got that beautiful pop of white coming up on my page that if I tried to glue it down before, excuse me, it still would have come up, but I would have had a bit of a halo around what I was cutting out, and personally for me, I used to really struggle with the halo when I was gluing things down. So I'm really enjoying this. One of the things I do love about the new sprays is that you can do what I've just done there and just spritz it on in little bits and get that beautiful stenciling coming up straight away, instead of having to get all your paints out and worrying about where the sponge is and so on. So it's really, really quick and effective. And you can also go and put your any paint that's left over on your stencil onto your page again to get some really cool effects. So I'm just going in now with a stamp. Again, this is from a stamp from Dina Wakley's range, some mic making stamps and some text stamps, just to add some interest into the background. So I wanted to blend that figure in, and again at this stage I was liking what was happening, but I still didn't have something cohesive that was sort of happening at the moment. So this is still a lot of experimentation. One of the things I do when I journal a lot is I like to put text onto my page. So I was playing around with those little bits of text down the bottom, seeing where I wanted to put those in. But one thing I did find as I was going on this page was it was very, very busy. Now, for those people who follow my channel a lot will notice that a lot of the pages I do tend to be very busy and very full of colour. I really struggle with white space, and I know that's something that Dina loves to use a lot. Which I really admire. I love her artwork and how she can do that. It's something I personally struggle with. So my way of getting around it is just putting everything on like I usually do, but then going back in with some white paint or some collage with white in it and putting it back in, I suppose, in a little bit of more controlled fashion. So now I'm going back in with some of my acrylic sprays again, and I decided I wanted to make some of the areas darker and have a sort of a resist effect of all the collage I had in the background. So I put down these new chipboard pieces that Dina's just released with the birds, so I could get some nice shapes that you can sort of see that darkness around, and I've got then the collage that I've already done in the background peeping up through. So this is called kind of like redactive art, where you sort of paint out the background, which is a really cool technique. You can see up in the top though, where that top bird is, where the pink is coming through, that because it's obviously a gloss spray, that if you've got the gloss spray underneath, it kind of resists itself. So you can see that pink sort of resisted where that the dark paint has come through. Just going in now with my white paint pen and doing some sketchy lines over the top. Now, I like using sketchy lines over the top of things, and I'm quite happy to do it. And I've found that the sketchier lines are, and the more wrong they are, so to speak, the better it looks. If it's really precise, it actually doesn't look right. So if you get really sketchy and have a few lines going over each other, it actually tends to look a little bit better. So I was playing around with some of those quotes that I had before, but I actually decided that I would write a quote on. So the quote I wrote on was, "Let your dreams be your wings," which sort of tied in with the birds, and it tied in with the spill of the figure there. And that kind of gave me the inspiration to go back to work on my next page that was sitting next to me, because I thought, oh, okay, wings, birds, I can do something with this. I can continue this on. And the thing that really popped into my head when I was thinking about this was Dina Wakley's Collage Collective, and in it she's got this beautiful image of 3 birds. And I thought, what a perfect way to put a focal image onto that page and to tie both pages together with that bird theme or winged theme. So I'm using some gel medium and gluing down the piece from the Collage Collective onto my page. Now you can see some of the gel medium at the top, it does dry clear, so it doesn't really matter if you get some where it shouldn't be, it dries clear. You'll notice on both pages as well, because I was working on them at the same time, I was using the same coloured inks, so the pages, while they've got different images on them, kind of stay together. So I'm just pouring out some of the different inks or acrylic paint, the gloss sprays, sorry, and using them as a kind of an acrylic ink to boost the colour on the page. So I'm going in with a paintbrush and just painting in some of the extra colour just to add just that highlight of colour back on the page, and to tie again the colours from both pages. So where it was more a fuchsia colour on the right hand side, I've changed it to that magenta colour. I'm also using the magenta paint. I'm painting over those birds that I had, because I had a spray pattern on it and left some of the white, which I didn't particularly want. But by painting it over with magenta and wiping it off, it stained where it was white and wiped off where the blue was. So it gives you this really cool speckled effect on your page. The other thing I'm going in with is the olive colour, which is a fantastic all-purpose colour, because depending on how you use it, it can look olive green, but it can also look gold, and it can also look a yellowy, it's got real yellowy tones to it as well. So if you paint it over some of your other colours, you can get some really, really cool effects with it. So once I've glued down the chipboard on the right hand page, I thought, oh okay, I can actually tie those chipboard pieces together and have them flying across the page to make it sort of cohesive and as one piece. So I went back and on the left hand side page glued down the chipboard as well. Then I decided I wanted to put in one of those quotes that I had, and I'm using the one that says "Stay courageous," because I figured that that sort of tied in with what I had written on the page, that you let your dreams be your wings, stay courageous. You saw me just off screen a little bit painting the back of that paper with the blue so that it blended in with what I've got on the page, and it really pops the white colour out as well. So it's a really good way to sort of blend everything in so it makes it make sense. So I've got "Stay courageous, you've got this," or "you got this," and I'm gluing it down the page. I'm actually using, because the gloss acrylic spray is still wet, I was actually able to use that. Once I dried it onto the page, I actually used it as a bit of a glue, so I didn't actually put any extra gel medium on that. I just used the paint as is. Just going in with a Posca paint, not Posca paint pen, and a Stabilo oil pencil to add a little bit more black to the page, and these are the final pages. So all in all, I think both pages took me about an hour and 10 minutes to complete, but you could see me switching between both as I was working, and I tend to do that a lot. You can also see on this page as it goes up, the gloss on this is really glossy, so trying to take a great picture of it is a little bit tricky with the lights on top of it, but you can sort of see the effect of where the gloss goes. So I hope you enjoyed having a look at some of the new products. So obviously in this page I used the gloss acrylic sprays and the new journal and the chipboards. Obviously I'm sure Dina and Ranger will be doing lots more videos of what different products there are being brought out, but I can tell you I am definitely addicted. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.